Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And I want to thank one of my subscribers for giving me this idea for this episode of Guns N' Roses True Stories. So today we're talking about the side project that Duff, McKagan, and Matt Sorum started in 1995 called Neurotic Outsiders. Now, they put out an album in the fall of 1996, and they only reunited once in like the late 90s, but it's an interesting supergroup nonetheless. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So let's get started. So, Neurotic Outsiders really began in March of 1995, so John Taylor of the group Duran Duran was putting out a solo record called Feelings Are Good and Other Lies, and it guest starred Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols, who played on the song Feelings Are Good. So, the same month, on March 10th, 1995, there's a gig in Las Vegas at The Joint, which was actually filmed and I've linked to below, which starred Matt Sorum, Duff McKagan, Eike Christian on guitar, and Steve Stevens on guitar, plus additional musicians, and they played together as Wayne Neutron. So guests included Seal, Sheryl Crow, Weezer, Bo Diddley, and B.B. King, and they even had Izzy Stradlin get up as well. So Steve Jones appeared as a guest on their cover of Black Leather, plus Raw Power and I Wanna Be Your Dog, and the later two with Iggy Pop on vocals, and even Billy Idol joined the band on stage on Shakin' All Over and Rebel Yell. So if you guys want to check out the video, I've linked to it below. So when Neurotic Outsiders first formed, their original lineup consisted of Duff, Matt Sorum, Steve Stevens, and Billy Idol, before Billy Idol and Steve Stevens were replaced by John Taylor and Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols. So the original version of the Neurotic Outsiders played Jay Leno's Tonight Show in 1995. They performed the song Christmas in the USA. If you guys want to see the performance, I've linked to it down below. So fast forward now to June of 1995, Matt Sorum is approached to help a benefit show at Johnny Depp's LA club, The Viper Room, in aid of a cancer sufferer. So Matt Sorum contacts a number of his celebrity friends, and the Neurotic Boy Outsiders are formed, initially just for one show. So Steve Jones will play guitar and vocals, Duff will play guitar and vocals, John Taylor plays bass and vocals, and Matt Sorum plays the drums. And basically Sorum said, I asked John if he'd play bass, said Sorum, because I'd always liked his playing in the power station. Duff's been playing guitar lately, so I asked him if he'd play. Duff knew Steve Jones from mountain biking. So here's an interview that Duff did where he talked about how he ran into Steve Jones and provides a little more insight onto how they both enjoy mountain biking and how they met at an Aerosmith gig, and talked about their first show at the Viper Room.
Duff McKagan has put together a new group. He's not going to sit around and wait for Guns N' Roses the rest of his life. I mean, if it happens, it happens. You know, he's into it. That's his main concern.
And it's actually happening now.
Right.
There's a general air of excitement. But so in the meantime, I mean, the first year, I got myself together, and then there was an opportunity. Steve Jones from the Pistols, who's an idol of mine.
Right.
Who I mean,
you idolize him, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
That's what I've said.
Yeah, no, you were right. Yeah, all right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, you were right. Yeah. I think I'm drunk. Yeah.
I met him riding mountain bikes. Actually, that's how we became friends, riding mountain bikes together, which was great because I completely emulate his guitar style, and I'm glad we didn't meet through playing.
Right.
So,
you guys were riding mountain bikes and ran into each other?
Well, we met at an Aerosmith gig.
Right.
And we were talking, and
you said, hey, let's go mountain biking.
Well, I was up the next day. I was in a race.
Right.
And he said, really, I ride, and blah, blah, blah. So we started riding together.
Right.
And then Matt...
I tried mountain biking for a while, and then I would always get bloody. Because I would get on there and I would flip over the handlebars, and that would be the end of it. That's a big klutz.
Well, we were riding with...
And I go, oh, there's sand. I'm going to get caught on the bike. I don't know.
We were riding with some pretty heavy guys, some pros, Dave Cullen and some guys.
Yeah, I could imagine you guys really do it.
Yeah.
I go out and do it, and I just like end up walking the bike. I end up walking alongside the bike.
People have to bring him home.
Hey, I don't want to get hurt.
So anyhow, Matt Sorum from Guns got this call from Sal from the Viper Room to do this benefit for this guy who did cancer, put a band together.
Right.
So he called Steve and John Taylor to play bass and me to play guitar.
Right.
And it was kind of a godsend. We got together.
It's like a super group.
Well,
in a sense.
we were just friends, you know.
Right, right.
After the fact, people started going, oh, you guys realize you're like this.
Yeah, it's good music.
So another name that was used by the band at some early shows was Kings of Chaos, which may sound familiar because Matt Sorum now has a band called Kings of Chaos that features a revolving lineup of superstar musicians. So between March and September, there's a handful of gigs that Neurotic Outsiders play at the Viper Room, And then in September of 1995 at the Joint in Las Vegas, a gig that was recorded, filmed, along with a sound check, Slash joins the band on stage for the songs Black Leather and No Fun. So here's a little bit of the rehearsal featuring Slash. There's also another gig where Slash joined the Neurotic Outsiders on stage to play Black Leather. Now, unfortunately, the video on YouTube doesn't say where this gig was actually filmed, but some people think it's from New York City in 1996. So throughout late 95 and 96, Neurotic Outsiders would be playing a bunch of shows, and Slash would make a number of appearances once again with the band on stage. So in the summer of 1996, Neurotic Outsiders had an album to make, so they went into Energy Studios in North Hollywood, recorded the songs we've been playing live for the past year, and by the end of the summer of 1996, we were preparing to release our self-titled debut album. So on September 10th, 1996, Maverick Records had released Neurotic Outsiders' debut album, and Maverick Records was the same label that Madonna was on as well. So according to Duff's autobiography, even though we had told all the labels pursuing us that we weren't to mount a full-scale tour, we did line up a string of gigs in September to promote the record. I was going back out on the road for the first time since the Believe in Me tour wrapped up in early '94. So in an interview that Matt Sorum gave to the Toronto Sun in September of '96, he revealed that Neurotic Outsiders may have been responsible for getting Guns N' Roses back into the studio at that time. Matt Sorum basically said every time we have a side project going on or we're doing something other than Guns N' Roses, we get a call from Axl because he's ready to start recording new material. So the Neurotic Outsiders debut album is now out of print, and it was followed up by Angelina, which was a 5-song EP in 1997, which was a Japanese-only release. So the first song released off the album as a single was the song Jerk, which also had a music video as well, and the song that Steve Jones worked with John Taylor on for his solo album, Feelings Are Good, actually appeared on the Neurotic Outsiders album as well. So here's an interview with the Neurotic Outsiders from 1996 where they talked about their new album and how the band came together.
Hooking up with a celebrity side band causing quite a stir at the moment. I'm talking about the Neurotic Outsiders. While Guns N' Roses were splitting up and making up, their bassist Duff McKagan and drummer Matt Sorum teamed up with Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols and John Taylor of Duran Duran to play some down and dirty punk and roll. The quartet eventually became a fully fledged band when they were approached to play a benefit gig at LA's infamous Viper Room. We managed to catch up with Neurotic Outsiders whilst they were in London recently to find out, amongst other things, where their inspiration and their songs came from.
Yeah, a bunch of the songs on the record I had before the band formed, but then once the band formed I decided to shine the solo record and use them songs in this.
Which was fine with us, by the way. He gave me the tape of his songs and it was like my favorite tape I had in my car, you know. He said, let's just...
We never really rehearsed either. I mean, we were doing gigs at the Viper Room in LA, and each time we would play at soundcheck, we'd add another song and, you know, another cover, and each night we played, we had a different singer come down and sit in with us, and originally it was just intended to be a fun jam, you know, and then the record company people started coming around and, you know, turned into this thing, and
right.
now we're in London.
It was like the antidote to the machine, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Guy from Maverick, he was coming down to the gigs, and he said I want to make a record with you guys, and it wasn't really something that we'd thought about, but we were like, oh, okay, what, you mean a live record? Oh, a proper record, like in the studio with a producer, and you know, it was really one of those things. We didn't have to hustle it, you know, it was just something that happened very organically.
Well, on the live front, the Neurotic Outsiders play a one-off gig at the London Astoria on the 26th of September. We've already heard what inspired their new material, but I wonder who or what provided the inspiration for their first video, simply titled Jerk.
So Neurotic Outsiders would end up reuniting for 3 shows 3 years after they disbanded in 1999 at the Viper Room. If you guys want to listen to it, I've put the links to the clips down below in the description box. And here's an interview with Steve Jones when he was promoting his autobiography, where he looked back at the Neurotic Outsiders and thought that the band really could have been something, but there were so many things going on at that time. There was Guns N' Roses getting back into the studio to record new material, plus there was the Sex Pistols reunion as well.
The Outsiders came about by doing a benefit at the Viper Room for someone who had cancer. And Matt, I think, instigated it. Matt Sorum instigated it, and Duff and John Taylor and me. Was a bunch of people, I believe, who was playing that night for this guy. But it was one of them things again when the 4 of us was playing. We're like, oh, this is cool. Let's do this again. And we started rehearsing and started playing down there every Monday. And it became this scene, you know, various people would get up with us, Iggy, Billy Idol, Christian got up once, Ian Ashbury, various people, and it became like a happening, it was the place to be. And Guy O'Siri, who was working at Maverick at the time, decided he wanted to give us $1 million to do a record. That's when people had money in the music business. I mean, to think of that now, $1 million to a bunch of jerk-offs like us who kind of putting a band together is crazy, you know. But it was a lot of fun, and I am proud of that album. That is one album I really do like. I like the songwriting, I like the production, and I like the way it's played. Yeah, that was a fun time. That was a fun time. I was into writing songs then. I wrote a lot of the songs on the record. And it was a fun time. It's a shame that it kind of fell on its ass, because I think that could have done a lot better than it did. But it was at the period in 1996 where, for the first time in 20 odd years, the Sex Pistols was doing their first reunion. So that kind of pushed me away from it, even though halfway through the world tour that we were doing in the Sex Pistols, the 3 weeks that I had off, we did shows with the Neurotic Outsiders in Europe and in America. But there was, you know, and then there was some talk of Guns N' Roses, and it just kind of fell apart. We couldn't really get behind it, which was a shame. I think it could have done all right, better than it did, you know. John is a great bass player. Obviously, to most people, he's just known as the bass player in Duran Duran, the good-looking guy in Duran Duran. But he can rock. And what I like about John, the way he plays, is that he plays with his fingers. And I like that warm sound. Like Matlock used to play with his fingers a lot. There's just a certain sound, and he can wipe the floor with a lot of rock bass players. Yeah, there's the stereotypical thing, Duran Duran, Sex Pistols, how does that work? Guns N' Roses, how does that work? But it just did, you know. And I think you just like what you like, regardless of what you think people are going to think you should like.
So that does it for my look back at the true story of the Neurotic Outsiders. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for the idea to one of my subscribers. And let me know if you guys were fans of the Neurotic Outsiders, or maybe if you guys haven't listened to their album, go check it out. It's up on YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this. Please share the video too, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you love Guns N' Roses as much as I do. And you guys can also go follow us on GNRCentral.com if you guys want to stay up to date on all things related to Guns N' Roses. Take care.